the stairs. "I want a wee, the little girl cried. He was just about to race up the stairs to shake the living daylights out of her, when he stopped. An idea just dropped into the lump in his head he called a brain. He galloped up the stairs to the little girl's bedroom. "Mummy!" she sobbed. Her tiny, convulsed body shrank away from the big man. "Shut up and stop moaning!" He snatched her up from the wet, sodden bed, clumsily wrapped her in a blanket, and clattered downstairs and out into the street. "Everything all right?" asked the next-door neighbour. She'd heard the banging, clashing and shouting last night, and the bairn crying for her mammy this morning. The big man was just about to give the nosy neighbour a mouthful of abuse, when he stopped and thought, and then said, "It's the bloody missus. She's gone off with another bloke and left me and the bairn to fend for ourselves. Have to work, so I'm taking bairn round to her granny's." "That'll give the bloody old hag something to gossip about," he thought, as he hurried down the street, avoiding going near to the police station. The child, frightened in the big man's huge arms, shut her eyes tightly, put her thumb in her mouth, and sucked. Arriving at his wife's mother's house in Marvel Court off Fretters Lane, the big man rushed in without knocking. 4 bairns were sitting round the kitchen table, eating a basin of watery porridge each. Wordlessly, they all stared at him. Their mother, Aggie, who was in the scullery washing the pan used for the porridge, spun round at the sound of heavy feet crashing into her kitchen. "Ted? What's up?" She was surprised to see her son-in-law, for he rarely visited. He wouldn't have been her choice for her daughter to marry. He was too rough and full of himself. She might be poor, but she had standards. Then she noticed the bairn in his arms. At the sound of her granny's voice, the little girl began to cry. "Mummy!" she hiccuped. Ted thrust the child into the startled woman's arms. The lies came easy to him. "Your bloody daughter's upped and left me for another bloke, and I'm off to work, so you look after the brat." With those words, he turned and stalked from the house. Aggie fell onto her chair by the kitchen fire, holding the wet bundle. The little girl, arms locked around her neck, sobbing onto her bosom. Finally, getting over the shock, Aggie unfastened the tight arms from her neck, and with an edge of her pinafore she wiped away the snot from her granddaughter's nose. Then she rocked her gently until her sobbing ceased. All the time her children went about their daily routine, not speaking a word, not wanting the wrath of their mother's tongue or a smack across their ears. Their breakfast finished, the 3 boys went off to school, and the girl to work in a shop. Feeling annoyed at being left with the care of her granddaughter, Aggie discarded the little girl's sodden nightdress and bathed her in tepid water in a bowl in the scullery stone sink. She found a vest, knickers, and a dress, all old and tatty. "They'll have to do for now," she muttered. One thing was for sure. She wasn't going to have the bairn shoved on her. No. She had her whack of looking after her own bairns with no help from anyone. Come tonight, she'd take the bairn back to Ted and let him sort out her care. She glanced at the clock on the mantelpiece. It was a wedding present from her father, and it reminded her of happier times. That was all she had left. Memories of when she was a young married woman with high hopes, until the Great War changed everything. Her Albert came home a broken man, only good for bedding her, and then he died, leaving her with 7 children and another on the way. She lost 3 of the bairns to diphtheria. Life became a brutal, harsh struggle with poverty and hunger, a never-ending daily toil to survive, and she was still doing it, struggling. She couldn't cope with another bairn, not at her age. Besides, she had advertised for a paying lodger, and a middle-aged man who worked at the flour mill was coming in a fortnight. That would give her a chance to buy a second-hand bed and turn her front room downstairs into a bed-cum-sitting room. She'd given up the pointless idea of having the front room to be used only on special occasions. What occasions did she have anyway? "Time I was going to work," she said to the little girl.